Well, howdy, folks. Jim coming at you alone again. Hoping we can get some guys back. Sorry you're just stuck with me for now, but I hope you enjoy what we bring to you. I love to just share with you what I'm seeing in the scriptures. A lot of times we've read scriptures over and over and over. And maybe the stories that we hear we've heard them 1,000 times. And, Jesus says, behold, I make all things new. And I love it when I read the scriptures and I'm brought new into the story. I see something new. And sometimes it's the same old, but then it's not the same old. You get where I'm coming from? So I enjoy that. This week, it's been on my mind reading a passage out of Matthew, reading a passage out of Luke. When Jesus comes to Peter and Andrew on the boat, that phrase, I'll make you fishers of men. First, let's talk about this statement a minute. Because, I fish and Jeff fishes. What does this statement mean? What does it look like? I'll make you fishers of men. Because it's all, we go fishing, you put a worm on a hook and throw it out there and you're trying to trick the fish. You're trying to catch the fish. Then, what do you do with the fish when you catch it? Then you eat the fish. Is that what Jesus is talking about? And I know this is used as a big, kind of evangelical thing. We got to go catch them. A guy told me one time, he said, I'll catch them, brother, and you clean them. We get that kind of mindset. We got to go catch them. And, using a lure, maybe the gospel, that would make the gospel a lure, a trickster, a bait. And that's not it. That's not it. As we dive into this, behold, I make all things new. Hopefully we can see it in new light. These same olds we'll see in new light, hopefully. So, one thing about the gospel, and we've mentioned this before, but I just want to reiterate, because there's a lot of things you got to look at. The gospel in itself, this word evangelion, we say it's good news. That's true to a certain extent. And what I mean by that, the gospel was an announcement. An announcement that there's a new king, there's a new government. Jesus, he's as we said earlier, in maybe some of our previous shows or Sunday, I can't remember, it all kind of runs together sometimes, but the gospel was an announcement that who the king is, what he's done, and what he expects. Now, this, Jesus come preaching, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. I mean, this is, letting him describe the gospel, the kingdom, this new government, this new politics, this new economics, this new religion, is at hand. Here's the opportunity. So, that's good news to some. It wasn't good news to others who were wrapped up into the politics of empire, the economics of empire. But to the oppressed, to the slave, to the sick, it was great news. There was liberation. there. So the gospel is not a bait, if you will. We got to see what Jesus was talking about. I'll make you fishers of men. We'll come back to that. But, you know, that's how he says it in Matthew's gospel, chapter 4. This comes on the scene before the Sermon on the Mount, which comes in chapter 5, 6, and 7. And, you know, a lot of times in scriptures, in the Gospels, we'll get things placed in different parts. You know, in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, there's the synoptic Gospels, but you'll read this in chapter 1 in this Gospel, and this over here in chapter 5 of this Gospel, and this is 4, and this is 8. There's a reason for that, because each one is wanting to bring about their particularities of the story, the way they interpret it, what it's meaning to them, because there's such depth to it. But I want to look at it in Luke's gospel. He doesn't use the term fishers of men, but I think this is really neat. So let's read in Luke's gospel, chapter 5. Now I'm reading this out of the NIV, so you'll have to forgive me. One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I'll let down the nets." And when they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats. So the boat so full they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, for I'm a sinful man." He and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken, and so were James, and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partner. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people." Well, there's the statement. So people pulled their boats up on the shore, left everything, and followed him. So it's early morning, and, you know, Peter's cleaning his fishing nets, and, you know, after a miserable night on the lake, they're wore out. They've been fishing all night, you know. When the sun comes up the next morning, they got nothing to show for their efforts. Achy backs, you know. I never fished with a net like they are, but... And Jesus comes along and tells them to put out into the deep and do the same old again. I mean, that's, you know, I think about the same old. I kind of smile on the inside because, you know, a lot of times we do the same old. I mean, every Sunday we're doing the same old, and with the same people, and, you know, Wednesday the same old with the same old people, and we're reading the same old, and we go to work and do the same old. And Jesus comes along and says, "Do it again. I mean, this is crazy. It almost sounds like, wait a minute, Jesus would come and say, okay, guys, you're fishing all wrong. Let me show you what to do. You know, do the same old, same old. And there are times in me, and I'm just sharing with you, where I've felt like, you know, I've fished all night and I've caught nothing. I've fished for years and caught nothing. You know, how long, oh Lord? You know, to quote a verse there. What's going on here? We're just fishing, we're fishing. We're throwing our nets out, and you're telling us to do it again. I'm tired of it. I'm sore of it. I don't get it. You know, I think when we read these stories, you know, stop and slow down and see if we can find entry into the story. Because we're invited in. I promise you, we're invited into his story. And, you know, this story of Peter. And, you know, when I read these things, you know, Jesus is coming along and he sees a boat. He sees a ship, as the King James says. He doesn't even see Peter. He just sees a boat. And I was reading, I always like to read contextual. I like to read what's around the story. So I go back, you know, in chapter 4, and I read where Jesus comes to Simon's house. And it says, Jesus left the synagogue and went to the home of Simon. Jesus left the church house, went to the home of Simon. I'm telling you, if you'll search the scriptures, you'll see a lot takes place in the home. A lot of Jesus' ministry takes place in the home. Now, I will throw this out there. You can kind of check this out if you want. Some say in Luke's gospel, this is the third calling of Peter. Peter and Andrew and James and John. The first one in John's gospel we see in chapter 1, where Andrew, you know, comes and tells Peter. And then in Matthew's gospel, chapter 4, and then here in Luke's gospel, chapter 5. You can, you know, I don't know if that's true or not, but when I was looking at it, I thought, you know, what made Jesus come to Simon's house, come to their home? And when he got there, Peter's mother-in-law was sick with a fever. What does that tell you? Peter was married. Now, this may sound strange, but if you'll go read 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, I believe, verse 9, you'll find out that Peter's wife traveled with him in the ministry. You know, I just got to do my hands like this because I didn't know. But you read these things, it's like, wow. Let me pull that verse for you, because I know you're wondering. Maybe you're looking. What did I say? 1 Corinthians chapter 7. I'm sorry. It's chapter 9. Let's see here. Now we're live and we can't find chapter 9 verse 5. Boy, we was way off, wasn't we? Now I'm reading out of the NIV. The King James is not as plain, but remember this is older manuscripts. Don't we have the right to take a believing wife along with us, as do the other apostles and the Lord's brothers and Cephas? Yeah. Anyway, you know, I'm reading this story, and Peter's mother-in-law, she was suffering from high fever. They asked Jesus to help her, so he bent over, rebuked the fever, and left her, and she got up at once and began to wait on them. Now, you know that word wait there is to serve them, and it's the same word. And I know for some people who don't believe in women being able to minister, but it's the same word, the same Greek verb that we get for the word deacon. Same word. She got up and served them. She got up and became a deacon. So actually, she answers the call to follow Christ, Peter's mother-in-law, before Peter did. I find that strange, and you know, I don't know if this, the way the Gospels are, you know, Jesus stays there all night, he ministers all night, they bring the sick to him, he's healing them all night. And, you know, I wonder in my mind the way it says, because in chapter 5, one day as Jesus was standing by the lake Gennesaret. So I'm wondering if this was the next day, if somehow or another, you know, Peter and his brother there in the house, and they're like, hey, we got to go fishing tonight, we got business to run, because this is what they do, they're businessmen. So Jesus is there healing people, they go out and fish all night. And then the very next morning, here comes Jesus and sees the boats. Maybe he goes down to congratulate them on the catch, or, you know, I don't know. I like to speculate in these stories. But here they are doing the same old, same old. They fished all night and they've caught nothing. And wow. So, one of the things I love in this story, because the Bible is so real, because their failure is here. I love that, because, you know, there are, I guess more times we fail than not. And it's right here that the great apostle Peter, and they failed, and they worked hard, and they failed, and they tried hard, and they failed, and right here it is in our face. And how many times do you and I, that we just try, and we fail, and it's right here. You know, they just, you know, to know what it's like to work hard for something and it not work out. You know, to work hard for a business and it not work out. Work hard for a relationship and it not work out. Work hard for a ministry, a church, and it not work out. Work all night. You worked your guts out and it just ain't happening. It just ain't happening. Nothing to show for the efforts when you're done. You know? That's tough. That's tough. And you know, we all do. We all know what it's like to pour ourselves into a job and to a ministry, to a dream, and come away exhausted, irritated, disgusted, ready to give up. You know, I think we all know what that's like. But, you know, if Simon's experience is representative here, and Jesus has a way of showing up right in these moments of loss and defeat. You know, I always think, in my mind, I maybe it's just me, but, you know, I'm thinking, why didn't you show up a little sooner? You know, the on-time Jesus, I'm thinking, you know, in my time, you should have got here a little earlier. You should have joined us last night. We would have had some fish, but, you know, Jesus just has a way of doing that. But here's the thing, and this is the thing maybe we'll understand later. But he brings us back to these sore spots of failure. The same old, same old. So let's go do it again. I mean, in my mind sometimes I'm like, gosh, let's just go do something new here. Let's just try something new. We're wore out of this. But Jesus brings us back to the point of failure, to this sore spot. And I know myself, I know exactly what this is like, because there's been times in my life when I'm just like, hey, I'm working, I'm studying hard, I'm praying, I'm doing all the things, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. You're trying to grow the church, you're trying to, all of this stuff. And I know some of the people may listen and see, well, they that labor in vain and trying to build the church. Forget all that. I mean, you try so hard, and man, it comes to nothing. It comes to naught. And now Jesus is coming asking me to do it again. I mean, like I said, when I read these things and for the first time, I'm like, the same old, you fished all night. Why we got to go do it again? Now do you want to embarrass us? Now you're going to get on the boat, we're going to have this big failure. Because remember, maybe imagine you're reading this for the first time. That's our problem. We read it and we know the story, so we skip down, oh yeah, Jesus, they get a bunch of fish. Oh yeah, Jesus is a blesser. But he brings us back to the sore spot. And guys, I'm ministering here because of the sore spots that I have, because I have tried and tried and tried and tried. And sometimes when you're trying to minister and be pastor and do these things, it's like, do people even hear what I'm saying? I'm trying so hard. Do people even get it? Do people even care? Is it making a difference? I don't know. I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm wore out. And this Sunday morning, I would just like to not go fishing, but you're telling me, let's go do it again. Same old, same old. I'm at the time here, when I'm reading the story and I'm right here, I'm not excited. I mean, you may have read ahead and you're thinking, oh, we know the outcome of the story, but let's just take our time and read it slow, because right now, guys, I'm not excited. I'm with Peter. Lord, we fished all night. What are you talking about? This is what we do. We fished all night. We've caught nothing. Maybe the lake's fished out. I don't know. Maybe the fish got a cab and went somewhere else. I don't know. We fished all night. But Jesus invites us back to the sore spots. In Luke's gospel, you can go and read in chapter 4 here. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He sent me to proclaim the good news to the poor, to proclaim freedom to the prisoners, set the oppressed free, proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And you're bringing me back to this spot where I'm bruised, where I'm hurt, and you want me to do the same old again. I don't know. And in our minds, we're always wanting something fresh, something new, vacations. Let's go. But Jesus brings us back to the same old. Hey, how's your work going? Well, same old. How's things going? Same old. And Jesus shows up. Well, how's it going, guys? We fished all night. We've caught nothing. So what are we going to do? And Jesus says, let's do the same old again. I mean, is it really true that Jesus could bring excitement, freshness? Can he really make the same old new? Can he really make the toil and the labor and the striving that we do in the mundaneness of our lives, the daily routines of our boring, mundane lives, can he really bring freshness to that? Can he really bring life to that? Can he really come into the middle of that and show us the year of the Lord's favor? Well, I don't know. as we continue on this story, the same old, same old. What sore spots? Just keep, and let me say this as we get ready to close out today's lesson. You know something about a sore spot? I don't know, it's like, do you ever bite your jaw and your jaw becomes sore, and then you know what you do for the next week is you bite that jaw again and again and again? Isn't it amazing how when you have a sore spot on your leg, you bump it on everything? You have a sore spot on your arm, you bump it on everything. Your fingers are sore, you bump them on everything. You hit them on everything. And Jesus is bringing us to this sore spot. Why is he bringing us to this sore spot? Because he come to heal the brokenhearted. Because he come to heal those bruises. And maybe as we read this story, maybe we're going to see some of this vigorous life, some of this life that John, when he records in this gospel, Jesus says, I come that you might have life and that more abundantly. Now, where are we going to do that? And I can hear Jesus right now telling Peter and Andrew and James and John, as we're going to find out more in the story, that he said, you guys are going to have life and that more abundantly in the same old, same old. This is who Jesus is. Anyway, guys, tune in Wednesday and we'll find out some more of You'll Be Fishers of Men doing the same old, same old. So, Lord bless. We'll see you Wednesday. Don and Jeff and myself, we really want to thank you guys for tuning in. You don't know what it means to us to have you guys listening. The one thing that you could do to help us out is hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment. Ask questions in the comments if you want. I am going to leave a link. I'll post it down below for our church services on Wednesday and Sundays. I put those on a different YouTube channel. So I will share that with you guys, give you the link so you can go see what time. We would love to have you come and join us. And, we just love putting out this voice of truth, having our discussions. What you see is what you get. We try to put them out every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 9 a.m. I will tell you, I'm a full-time pastor, but I also work full-time. Jeff works full-time, so it's hard for us to do those things all the time. But again, we're so thankful you tune in. Thank you for all the subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. You can hit the notification button. You'll know when they're coming out. And guys, again, we are so thankful that you're tuning in. Thank you so much. We will keep bringing this stuff to you. And we will see you again. Lord bless.